My husband's ex. Episode 5. Jovani looked at the person staring at him, and his brain processed a solution immediately. He needed to do something that will make the onlooker know that he has moved on. He looked intently into Sophia's eyes, and he could tell that even if she wanted to give him a no before, she was having a great turbulence within. I will never hurt you, Sophia. Believe me when I say that I love you. I know your fears and I understand in perfect terms why you fear that much. But please, don't let me have to remain floating around for much longer. Sophia, please give us a chance. Please give me the chance to show you how much I can love you, Jovani urged. She expressed her fears, but he assured her of his undying love. Sophia fell silent, and her head returned to resting on his chest, something that told Jovani she wasn't as strong-willed as she was to reject him again. His hug became tighter, and to his excitement, she too hugged him too, almost as if she was going to melt into him. By the time they disengaged, they were both out of breath, and the person who had been looking at Jovani all along had somehow gone out of his sight. Thank you, Sophia. Thanks for letting me into your life. I assure you that you'd always remember today and be happy you made the decision to be my girlfriend, Jovani told her, walking her to her seat. Jovani sat down opposite Sophia after making her take her seat, reached to eat the dinner that was almost cold. But he could see she wasn't eating her food, so he began to spoon-feed her, smiling as he kept looking up to find that person has returned to the seat opposite them and was watching them with a frown. Their meals eaten in silence and their dinner drawing to an end, Sophia was beginning to imagine what would happen next. He stood up in his usual way and turned around to pull out her chair for her to get up. Can you dance with me for a while? I promise to take you home soon, he asked. Sophia smiled because Jovani was asking her a question, but he was already pulling her to himself to move to the soft tune playing in the background, not giving her a chance to decide if she wanted to dance or not. They danced for a short while, and because Sophia kept peeping at her wristwatch, Jovani decided to take her home. He had taken his time to study Sophia's mother, and while he couldn't blame her for it, he knew the woman was yet to fully trust him. It was also easy to know that Sophia would most likely not agree to get in bed with him until they got married, and that too wasn't a problem, because he was willing to wait, as long as she wasn't getting into anyone else's bed. Plus, he knew the wait wasn't going to be for long. Let go, my dear. I'm so happy that I was able to make you come with me on this date. It has helped me achieve 2 things, he told her as they walked over to their table to get her purse. You achieved 2 things? What could they be, boss? Sophia asked. Boss lady, I got you to accept me. Then I got the one who should know that I have moved on. See that I have really moved on, Jovani said, smiling happily. Sophia didn't get what he meant by the second part of his explanation, but she needed to go home. She didn't want her mother assuming that she had gone into the same mistake she made before. So she picked her purse, smiled at him, and asked him to take her home. But just as they tried to walk past the one who had been looking at them since, Jovani's shirt was pulled back with so much aggression. What's the meaning of this, Clara? Why are you ruffling my shirt with so much impunity? Jovani blasted, his eyes shimmering in anger. When he didn't get a verbal response, save a shocked facial expression from the one who had pulled his shirt, Jovani brushed her hand off his shirt and walked out with a confused Sophia. What was that, boss? Sophia asked Jovani as soon as they got to his car. Never mind, boss lady. That was nobody significant, Jovani replied carelessly, moving on to get into the car. He paused in his track when he noticed she was standing and practically blanking out. So he turned around and walked up to her. Is everything okay, boss lady? Why does it look like you're going to allow someone as insignificant to us as Clara spoil the good time we've had today? Jovani asked, holding her hand. Nobody significant. Yet she pulled at your shirt with so much authority and sense of ownership, Sophia muttered, more to herself than to him. Jovani smiled uneasily as he watched her face falter while she stood looking into space. He was getting worried with the fact that even though Clara had given him the biggest shame he had got all his life, she was about to pose another problem to the one thing he had been able to get to give him joy since she threw him in the mud. Listen, boss lady. Clara is someone so inconsequential we shouldn't be spending our time talking about. She's someone from my past, and she'll forever remain in my past, Jovani told her, closing in on her, until she was trapped between him and the car. He wanted to have her close to his heart while he spoke, to make her see and hear the truth and sincerity in all he was saying. Clara is the very same woman I told you made me almost lose my mind before I met you. I told you I have had my fair share of heartbreak and pains, but I told you I chose to handle mine in a different way. I refused to stay on the ground, where she had tossed me with so much ruthlessness, Jovani said. I remember that name. I can still recall that you told me about how she had walked out on you some days to your wedding, because she met her ex while you two were shopping for the wedding. But what I don't recall is when you said you two were back together that would have given her the audacity to pull your shirt as roughly as she did a while ago, as if she found her man cheating on her, Sophia analyzed. I didn't tell you, and I can never tell you that I'm back with her, because I can never get back with her. She's in my past, and she'll remain in my past whether you choose to believe me or not. She left me because, according to her, she couldn't go ahead with our wedding when she was still in love with her ex, someone who had just returned from the UK. I cried, I begged, and I got so many people to help me talk to Clara, because I was so sure I wouldn't be able to live on if she left me. I was worried about the pains my heart felt with her departure, and the fear of never being able to fall in love again. Then I worried about how I was going to face the days that followed without her by my sides. It felt as if light would never come again. But Clara didn't give a damn that I was hospitalized for days after she paid deaf ears to all my pleas and officially called off the wedding, and made all the things we got for our wedding go to waste. I faced the shame and the pains, especially with my dad getting so agitated and troubled about how his friendship with Clara's father was going to get affected by the negative turnout of our relationship. But I decided to pick myself up. I dusted myself and moved on. Though I decided to stay away from women and dating, I started going to places that could help me heal from my wound. I was coming from the cinema that night when I met you in that lonely path. Call it fate, call it whatever, but I found you and something about you kept pulling me. The fact that I have pushed 1,001 females, stalking and pestering me for attention away, didn't make me able to resist you. Neither did the disturbing things I heard about you and Brad make me feel any less for you. So you see what I meant when I said Clara is someone inconsequential? Jovani asked Sophia, looking down at her with all the love in his heart. Oh, I see, Sophia said, trying to look away from his piercing gaze. She knew part of the story he had just told, but never did she imagine that the hurt he talked about was as deep as he had just explained. They were still standing with their bodies glued, and their eyes fixed at each other when Clara bounced out of the hotel. The clucking of her heels as she approached them made them realize they had company, and looked up at once to find her standing a few yards away from them. Joe, I need to talk to you, and right now, Clara said, clicking her tongue as she spoke with so much authority. Hello. Who are you again? Whoever you are, young lady, I'll advise you to keep your face and nose away from my fiancé and I, Jovani told her, barely lifting his head as he spoke. Clara was shocked to see Jovani act with so much nonchalance. It was almost as if she was seeing a different being. Is this not the same Jovani that had been crawling all over the grounds that I walked on, begging and crying that I accept him back? Is this not the same Jovani that would give anything to have me take his calls just a few months ago? Clara thought in dismay as he opened the passenger's door and made the girl with him sit down and drove away. Clara pulled out her phone and tapped furiously on her keyboard, composing a message to the very one she knew had the powers to call Jovani to order. She had actually left Jovani just before their wedding because of her ex, and her father almost killed her for it. So she knew that getting her father to see her readiness to get back with Jovani would give her what she wanted. Clara had been away from her father's house for so long because the old man had threatened to shoot her the day he finds her anywhere close to his house with the guy she had wanted her father to bless her relationship with. She knew there was no easier way to getting Jovani crawl back to her than getting her father and his father involved. But she didn't really know how to face the family after falling out with the guy, for whose sake she had left Jovani. After she abandoned Jovani for her ex that just returned to the country, she found out the guy was already married a foreigner while he was away from the country. He had promised to make her happy, to do all he could to ensure that his marriage to his current wife didn't affect their relationship. And based on the plans he made, he was supposed to quickly and quietly marry her traditionally before he returned with her to his base as his sister. She had initially kicked against the plan, urging him to forget about returning to his base, since he already came home with so much money, but he told her he had his plans. Clara had been desperate to travel with him, and had agreed without any further arguments, running home with him to urge her father to bless and approve their private traditional marriage. Her mother tried to convince her father to allow her marry the man of her choice, and he had almost agreed to letting his relationship with Jovani's father not be the reason he doesn't allow his daughter get married to the man of her choice, until he found out the details about the terms of their marriage. Clara's father chased them out of his house, and they had agreed to proceed with a court marriage, and still follow their plans through. But Clara had walked in on the dude telling a friend about why he had decided to ensure he married Clara. According to the shocking and painful secret she learnt, the dude had contracted HIV because of the illicit job he was doing before he met the lady he married there. His wife knew about his HIV status, and so he was forced to always play safe with her. So, after he got back to Nigeria and found Clara ready to jump into his bed without a second thought, he decided to take her with him, because he knew she was already infected, and he wouldn't have to worry about playing safe with her. Clara had gone berserk after listening in on the secret her ex was divulging to his friend and attacked him. Let go of me now and don't make me have to beat you. What moral justification do you have to blame me? When I returned and you rushed out of the arms of a man who was set to wed you in days, what was I supposed to have done when you all over me? Were you not the one who insisted that you wanted to be pregnant and leave your father no choice but to allow me marry you? I remember telling you to take things easy, but you were in so much hurry to get in bed. So what the hell was I supposed to do when I have missed playing without caution? The unrepentant guy asked, shoving her roughly to the seat beside her. So you knew all along that you were infected and decided to get down with me and infect me so wickedly? You made me leave the man that was ready to marry me, only to infect me. Clara barked. Oh, shut up, Clara. Isn't it so shameless of you to have run after someone who had been away for so long because of greed? Don't try to act all good now and make me look like the bad person. I'm not worse than you, he told her. That day, Clara was forced into his bed after she told the guy it was over between them. He forced himself on her and kept her the whole of the night, against her wish, only letting her go the next morning. So, for the days that followed, Clara didn't know what to do with herself or where to go, because she had ran away from home since the day her father chased her ex away. She had been living with the dude while they waited for her travel documents. So after leaving his house that morning, she checked into a hotel to get her head cleared and to think of the next step to take. She had just come out of her room to get some air that night when she saw Jovani and the new girl. And not only had Jovani ignored the fact that she was standing there and went ahead to hug the girl, he also brushed her hands off his shirt and shunned her when she walked up to him by the car. "Hello, Dad. I'm sorry that I acted the way I did, but I can't live on like this without your blessings. I'm willing to wed Jovani any day you get his father to come for the traditional marriage rites," the message to her father read. She smiled triumphantly as she thought of how Jovani would soon come crawling back to her after her father and his father have met over their reconciliation. "I'm sorry it has to be this way, Jovani, but I just can't let you go away from me like that and still have the impetus to hug a girl in front of me. I'll think about what we can do about my HIV status later, but for now, I've got to take what belongs to me," she soliloquized as she walked back to her room. "Hello, Dad. How are you today?" Jovani spoke happily into his phone receiver as he sat in his office, the day after his encounter with Clara. He had just returned from his usual lunch break with Sophia, and he was feeling on top of the world because their lunch that day had been quite different from what it used to be. Sophia had practically adjusted to being his woman. The fact that their very first intimate moment was followed by Clara's disturbing appearance notwithstanding. He was so happy that as he drove her home that day, she didn't really need all the explanations he was making to understand that he loved her way too much to bother about Clara, someone from the past. Sophia had refused to stop calling him boss, but she didn't fail to keep ordering him to spoon-feed her and kiss him as much as she wanted before he left for his office. He was thinking of his visit to his father's house later that night when he got the call from his father. "I'm very well, Jovani. Just want to see you later today. There's something I know you'd love to hear that I want to discuss with you." "I have good news for you, son," his father told him enthusiastically. "Oh, then it's all so good. I plan to visit you later today to discuss something very important as well. So I'll see you by 7 p.m. then," Jovani told his father in high spirits. And then they talked about this and that before the old man hung up. Jovani blew out air happily after he hung up. He began to sort the folders on his table quickly, finding everything going on in the office amusing the rest of that day. "Hey, boss lady, I was thinking, is there something you want me to get for you before I come to pick you up?" Jovani asked Sophia over the phone as he prepared to head towards her house. Boss, I don't really have need for anything but your warm embrace right now," Sophia said. "You bet. I'll be by your side in the next second if I can fly. I guess I'm just not super enough yet. But count to 10, and you'll see me," he chirped as he raced down the stairs and straight to his garage. "Oh, Brad, thank you for making me meet Jovani. Thanks for seeing to it that after you betrayed me so badly, you still selfishly decided to keep me redundant. God bless you for failing to answer my calls the day I got stranded on that lonely path, and gave me the privilege of meeting Jovani. Love has never felt this good and pure. I love Jovani like I have never loved, and now, Brad, you have made me know what it truly means to be loved," Sophia soliloquized. Sophia blushed badly as she turned around and found her mother smiling down at her. "Mum, for how long have you been here?" Sophia asked, afraid that her mother may have heard her getting naughty with Jovani. "For quite a while. I walked in when I heard you speaking to yourself, and luckily, you haven't run mad as I feared, but just madly in love with a great guy," her mother replied. "Oh, sweet mother, I don't know, but I can't help it. I keep falling deeper and deeper in love with Jovani, even when I hear bells of warning all around. You think he's a great guy? Do you think this love will stand the test of time? There seems to be a storm approaching. The sounds and signs of the storm are just all around, but I don't know why my heart feels at home, loving Jovani helplessly," Sophia complained. "Sophia, dear, you must understand that the storms of life more often than not wash away all the tiny, but ever-present unwanted chaffs from our lives. In the end, only those things that should remain, those that are part of the whole, remain after the storm. Cheer up, child, for though the heart of man is deep and can't be defined in clarity, this young man, Jovani, seems to be a good guy," Mrs. Chike told her daughter. "Ahem. Thanks for the compliments, ma'am. It's an honor that you trust me this much, and I'll ensure that you don't feel let down at any point," Jovani said, smiling sincerely as he walked into the mother and daughter so engrossed in their chit-chat, they hadn't heard him knocking. The mother and daughter turned around in shock to find Jovani standing in the doorway with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. "Hello, Jovani. How was your day?" Mrs. Chaik greeted as she got up to let the two lovebirds talk. "Very well, thank you, ma'am," Jovani replied, nodding curtly as his soon-to-be mother-in-law walked past him. Jovani waited for the woman to disappear before he rushed to Sophia's sides and pulled her in for the hug she had talked about, right after he had placed the flowers in her hand. Some minutes later, they were on their way to Chief Jonah's compound. Jovani had told her earlier that they were visiting his father. What he didn't tell her was that his father had called to invite him also. "Hey son, you look so bright today. It appears your spirit is already in sync with the good news I have for you today," his father told him, after the pleasantries had been exchanged. "Well, Dad, I've got to be this bright because of the sunshine that now rises with me every day and remains with me all day. I told you I was coming to give you good news, but maybe you should start with yours," Jovani told his father. Chief Jonah tried to get Jovani send his escort out of the sitting room until they were done talking, because he had assumed she was one of those girls he must have decided to play with, to get his mind off Clara, his beloved, but Jovani bluntly refused. The old man cleared his throat, then began his speech. "I got a call earlier today from my friend, Engineer Phillips. We spoke at length, reminiscing on the good old days," the man was saying before Jovani cut him short. "Dad, I'm sure that a phone call with your old-time friend and business partner isn't the reason you called me over. Please tell me the good news, and let your conversation with your friend not take the time I have to tell you the good news I have," Jovani said. "Jovani, you're always too impatient. The good news is tied to that call. He called to let me know that Clara has finally agreed to let us come perform the traditional marriage rites. Yes, Clara is ready to be your wife after all the pleas," the old man chipped gladly. A frown crossed Jovani's face instantly, but it was quickly replaced with an ugly smile. "Oh, that's so wonderful. But now that I have heard your good news, it's high time I told you mine, Dad. I came to inform you that I've found the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. This woman here is the woman I want to perform the marriage rites on, any day she agrees to have me. So, Dad, I'll need you to do me a favor. Tell your friend I'm no longer interested in his daughter," Jovani spat. "You must be joking. Jovani, you must be playing if you think you can marry someone else after I have given my friend my words that I'd be coming soon for the marriage rites," Jovani's father barked. "Dad, your son Jovani is anything but a comedian. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. This woman is the only one for me, and if you don't accept her then, I'm sorry because you'd be losing a son," Jovani screamed back. Their shouts and bickering seemed to have been too loud because it drew the attention of the other people inside the house. "What's going on, Joe? What are you screaming at, Chief?" Kelly asked as he ran into the sitting room with Jovani's mum, who he was examining inside. He turned around and looked at Sophia in shock. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" Dr. Kelly asked Sophia, making her nearly pass out as she turned around and saw who had just addressed her. "Kelly, you know Sophia?" Jovani asked in askance, shocked to see how he addressed her by her name as if he christened her. "Yes, big bro, and I hope she didn't come with you as your," he was saying, with a facial expression that told Jovani Kelly knew something unfavorable about Sophia, and he didn't want to hear it. Kelly, his cousin, had grown up in their house, and his father had been his sponsor, all through his days in school. Kelly's father, Chief Jonah's brother, had actually left the boy to serve his uncle in his large business empire, with the hopes that he would be settled afterwards, but Jovani, who was just a little older than Kelly, had always insisted that Kelly went to school with him. And that was how Kelly got lucky enough to finish his secondary education and went as far as studying medicine in their state university. Jovani knew Sophia attended the same university Kelly had attended, so he was sure Kelly may have known about her relationship with Brad, because from what she had told him, Brad was the only guy she had dated before they met. "She came with me as my girlfriend Kelly, and just after making Dad see how much I want her, I'm going to make her my wife," Jovani declared, doing his best to make Kelly shove whatever he had to say in his nose. "No bros. Never. You can't marry Sophia. How can you say a thing like that? She's," Kelly was saying again, but just like before, Jovani cut him short in his track. "Oh, keep quiet, Kelly. She was not his. I know what you want to say, and I don't want to hear it. She's no longer with Brad, but mine now," Jovani snapped. "So you knew? You knew she was with Brad, and after he had made her commit the abortion that took away her ability to birth her own children, he got his old-time crush wedded, while he kept her as a sex tool, and you still insist on marrying her?" Kelly screamed in an uncontrollable rage. If Jovani had not been his older cousin, Kelly would have hit him for sounding as stupid as he was sounding in his ears. "What?" Jovani, Sophia, and Chief Jonah all screamed in unison. Sophia looked at Kelly, tears rolling down her beautiful face, then back at Jovani, who was beginning to cry as well. "Boss lady, Please tell me this isn't true. Tell me he doesn't know what he's saying. Tell me it's not true that you kept this from me in spite of how I tried to make you see that I can accept you just the way you are. Jovani asked, tears rolling down his face. Wait, this girl with no background fooled you into falling in love with her, made you believe she's as clean as anything, while she kept this magnitude of secret from you, and you're still asking her to tell you it's not true. Can you see how foolish she has made you look now? Can you see now that what we elders can see while sitting, you can't see it, even when you climb a hill? His father bellowed. Sophia, why? Why did you do this to me? You knew how much I trusted you, and how much I hold you to high esteem, and you still kept a secret as dark as this from me? Jovani asked Sophia, looking all broken. Sophia sat still, not saying a thing, just allowing tears flow ceaselessly on her face while she stared into space. I don't know how to say this, but you have to stay away from Sophia because even Brad, who loved her so much that he didn't want her to know of the condition of her womb, afraid that she could hurt herself, couldn't marry her. It's not you, my cousin, the only son of your parents, that will marry her, Kelly said. Wait, did you just say she wasn't told? Are you saying she didn't know of the condition the abortion left her womb? Is that to say she didn't keep any secrets from me? Jovani asked, suddenly wiping the tears from his face. What difference does that make? Fine, she didn't know, and probably wasn't told until now, but what does that change? It still doesn't change the fact that her possibility of birthing her children is just about 2%. Kelly snapped, talking to Jovani in a tone he had never dared speak to him before. Well, what I do with this information you have just given me is up to me. What I decide to do after talking with my soon-to-be wife is entirely up to us, and not your business, he told Kelly with a scream. I can see you have gone mad now, Jovani. Yes, it's only madness that would make my son, the heir to my empire, choose to marry a girl with no background, when Clara, the daughter of my super-rich friend and business partner, is ready to allow us perform marriage rites and keep our families bonded forever. It becomes a matter of greater concern when that madness makes you look at a girl who doesn't have the potential to birth me grandchildren, right under my watch, and call her your wife-to-be. His father raged. Dad, Kelly, the bearer of the bad news, just said there's 2% chance that my soon-to-be married wife can birth her own children, Jovani said stubbornly. May the gods strike you dead if you dare call her your soon-to-be married wife again. Have you gone mad? The old man shrieked, almost having a heart attack. Meanwhile, in all the time they argued and shouted, Jovani's mother remained silent, just looking at Sophia with an expressionless face, her mind in faraway places, memories flooding her heart. Dad, Mum, I came here to make you see Sophia, the woman I have chosen to live the rest of my life with. And it'll interest you to know that Sophia remains the only one who'd be able to keep me from marrying her. So if she says yes to me tomorrow, she'll be my wife the very same day, whether you like it or not. I have played my part by bringing her to you. If you accept her, then it's all good. But if you don't, then I'm sorry, because you would have lost the only son you have. I am marrying Sophia, and that's it. I'm willing to take the chances and hope that God blesses us and give us children with the 2% chance she has, Jovani declared. Then be ready to marry her on your own. Be ready to become the father of the groom and the family of the groom on the day you marry her. Chief Jonah shouted. Piece of cake, Dad. Just help me pray she accepts my proposal. I'm going to ask her to marry me tomorrow, and if I get a yes, I'll send you an invite. Goodbye, Dad. And as for you, Kelly, when I'm ready, you'll tell me the role you played in all of these. You'll surely have me to answer to very soon. Let's go, boss lady, Jovani said, pulling a weeping Sophia up, and walked out of the house, while his parents looked on, with mouths wide agape. Will Jovani be able to marry Sophia on his own? Will Sophia accept to marry him, after hearing about the complications that arose from the abortion? Find out what happens next in the next episode. If you're new here, please click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get notified when I post the next episode. Don't forget to leave a comment to tell us what you think about Sophia and Jovani's pair.